Hello everyone, new video, new 360 shoot 'em up, really kind of quite excited about this one. I've just been watching, there we go, Figina's 500. Been following this guy for a long time. He knows his shoot 'em ups, my god he really does. He's just done a gameplay review of Caladrius, well worth checking out. Just a bit of a plug for his channel, and absolutely brilliant in-depth review of Caladrius. So check that out. I was just kind of looking at that this morning. So without further ado, let's have a look at, there we go, Caladrius limited edition version. Quite nice cover artwork. And I don't know, the little bit of orange on the spine there makes me think of a Dreamcast game. And there we go. Not region free, unfortunately, so you're going to have a modded or a Jap 360 to actually play this. Sorry, Japanese 360, that's not very PC. The first two items that you'll see is a hard-backed art book. Now these remind me of the old kind of Peter and Jane type books we used to get at school. It's a similar kind of size, and yeah, it just struck me as quite a familiar format. Quite a nice art book, has to be said. It's really is quality, and as you can see, some character images there, some of the bosses as well. I'm going to kind of talk about this later, but there is definitely a gothic type of Death Smiles feel to this game. There's some of the ships as well. So it's quite a nice little quite a nice little bonus that you actually get. It's a bit about the soundtrack there as well. As with a lot of these things, you've got an oversized outer sleeve. There's the actual game disc itself. Oh. There's the soundtrack CD. So yeah, it's all looking quite familiar if you've got some cave shoot 'em ups, and quite a nice little manual there as well. Full colour, as we obviously like. So yeah, that's what you get in the limited edition. I picked this up from a company. It should be mentioned, yeah, worth mentioning that I picked this up from a company called Ami, who are kind of the better well known for dodgy, questionable hentai type statues, but they also do games, and they do them at a very, very reasonable price. I think this cost me about, it was about £57 including postage and packaging, which was far cheaper than PlayAsia were charging. Plus this was sent kind of okay, there are far more kind of postage options, and I got this sent by airmail, and it arrived in about 3 or 4 days. You know, when you pick them up from PlayAsia, and they take a week at least if you go for the cheap option. So well worth checking out. I've got a ton of 360 games coming over the next few weeks, and they're all from Ami, so I'll tell you how that goes. So I'll tell you what I actually think about the game in the next section, and there'll be some gameplay at the end, so keep that familiar format that you kind of got used to going. Just realised, looking at this, it looks a bit like Soul Edge on the front there. Anyway, okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next part. Right, going to talk about the game itself now. There you go. I think you'll kind of agree that the packaging on this was really, really good actually. Yeah, the level of presentation is fantastic, and that kind of continues in game. Certainly one of the most kind of like most beautiful kind of 360 shmups that are out there. Lots of detail in the background. The boss characters are really well designed as well. So I've written a few kind of thoughts down about it. As per usual with these games, there's a great big kind of interesting anime intro to this. It's really kind of like high production values, as you would kind of expect. Soundtrack as well is pretty interesting. Some of the tracks vary from just kind of generic standard fare, just almost like operatic music, to kind of like there's some kind of quite rocky tracks on the soundtrack. There's some that wouldn't look out of place. Sound out of place in Death Smiles as well. Kind of quite gothic and epic sounding. I would say that the game strangely reminds me of non-shoot 'em up games. There's a little bit of feeling of Blast Blue in the introduction and the menu and the menus and the kind of like the in between sections of the games. The kind of like, it's especially in story mode, it feels a little bit kind of Blast Blue-esque. Obviously, with the kind of like the music wouldn't sound out of place in that game. Game itself kind of feels a little bit like Elemental Master on the Mega Drive, or there is a bit of a Death Smiles influence, even though Death Smiles is a horizontal scroller rather than a vertical. I think it's probably to do with the design of the characters, the music. There's just a feeling of Death Smiles with this. The ships one of the ships looks very Raiden-esque for some reason, which I know it's developed by Moss, which was the company that actually brought out Raiden, but I think it's the design of the ship, because the similarity between the two series, or the two games, is not there. They are very, very different, and if you pick up the game thinking you're going to be playing a Raiden game, you're definitely not going to be. Now that's not to say that that's a bad thing, because the game feels quite fresh and original. It's like no other game, no other shoot 'em up that's on the 360. There's a little bit of a Shikigami feeling about the game, but the fact that you're actually using spaceships rather than characters, again, I think it might be the character design and maybe the pace of the game. It falls somewhere between kind of bullet hell and a traditional shooter. The projectiles are kind of quite small. But the screen does kind of quite fill up in places. Special mention needs to be kind of made to the boss battles, because they're quite long, and it's almost, I think the game's almost built around boss battles, from what I've seen so far. It's getting a lot of kind of, not a lot of shit, but it's getting a lot of discussion on, let's say, on the shmups System 11 forum about it being easy. The game's about kind of multiple playthroughs apparently. I think I've played up till something like the second level so far. Got to the second level boss, and I certainly finding it a bit of a stiff test, to be honest. And it is due to on normal mode the bosses take ages, so I think quite a bit of it is about memorising their patterns. I've already seen a guide that shows some of the kind of like the save points for the bosses, but I've not kind of delved into that yet. Game's got a really complex weapon system. It's been compared to Radiant Silvergun. The fact that you actually there's 4 different weapons buttons, and you can do combinations of buttons to do stuff like smart bombs and kind of like laser attacks as well. But each weapon's got a weapons bar that slowly regenerates. So if you use one weapon too much, then you can switch to another weapon, or or it's about using the right weapon the right time. I think that's probably what the game is very much about. There is, let's have a look. Yeah, I think that was all I was going to talk about that I'd actually written down. But I like the game. When it boils down to it, it's yeah, it's very fun, and I can tell I've just scratched the surface. The game's got a power-up system, so at the end of each level you kind of are rewarded gems and you can power up your individual weapon systems, and yeah, it feels very fresh. And to say it was a game that kind of came out of nowhere, really, released a hell of a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be. It's certainly very, very polished as well. So yeah, I'll stick some gameplay footage on the end of this, but it's one that's certainly worth while picking up. As I said in the previous section, it's not region free, and the chances of it being ported are kind of very, very slim, I suspect, just because of the nature of the game, really. It's not a cave shooter, or you know, or by a recognised kind of big company anymore. So I think this one's going to definitely stay in Japan. So if you want to pick it up, then you have to go down the usual route of either getting a Japanese 360 or getting a flash machine. So yeah, well worth picking up anyway. So yeah, we'll move on to some gameplay footage now. But thank you all for watching. Goodbye.
キャラクターを選んでください。神よ、お導きください。司祭様はオートでな、それにこのまがまがしいお父様、どうかご無事で。おぞましい気配、一体何が起きているの？聞いてください。祝福よ。私は教会の司祭様の使いでオートに向かっています。誰も通さないようにってお父様に言われたの。お父様ですか？あなたなんでそんなにいい子なの？ちょっと遊んであげるわ。諦めません。 の兵器から降りてください。許してほしいわけじゃないもの。それはです。これでいいのでしょうか。1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4.